The anniversary lights glittered above Earth like false stars. From the viewport of the Terran orbital platform horizon, Admiral Elias Kale watched the celebration unfold in silence. The hollow broadcast filled the command deck. Chancellor Voron Talzeth, draped in the golden regalia of the Galactic Council, declared another century of interstellar harmony. His voice slithered through the speakers, smooth and cold. Humanity, said the Chancellor, has proven itself civilized at last. The scars of your primitive wars have healed. The Council commends your obedience, your humility, your peace. Around Kale, his officers stood at attention. Some saluted the hologram, others watched numbly. Kale's reflection stared back at him from the viewport, hard eyes, gray hair, the kind of face molded by command and loss. Obedience, he muttered. That's what they call it. The silence of space stretched beyond, infinite and indifferent. Commander Aisha Tran, his intelligence chief, approached, her steps crisp. Admiral, I've intercepted a signal from the Mars relay. Encrypted. It wasn't routed through our channels. Kale turned, interest replacing fatigue. Council transmission? Worse. Hidden piggyback on their medical network. It's old, time-stamped 20 years ago. Refers to something called Operation Cinder. She hesitated. You need to see this. She handed him the pad. The screen flickered, lines of alien script scrolled, translated into Terran Standard. Keywords leapt out: Terran genome study, disease vector, population reduction compliance. Kale read each line twice. The Titan plague. His voice was a whisper. Aisha nodded grimly. It wasn't an accident. They designed it. For a long moment, the room seemed to shrink. The memory of Titan City burning, the billions begging for Council cure shipments, the public kneeling before alien physicians, it all snapped back with searing clarity. Humanity had called it mercy. Now, it reeked of control. Kale set the pad down. You're certain? Cross-verified the signatures. Council encryption unspoofed. They infected us to force dependency. He exhaled slowly, rage tempered by the discipline of a lifetime. Get me the Terran assembly. Secure link. Before the call could connect, the comm officer reported. Incoming vessel, Council Envoy Sither Kell requests docking permission. Kale's expression hardened. Of course he does. Minutes later, in the Grand Hall of Horizon Station, the envoy glided in, a tall Verilian wrapped in white silk and arrogance. His translucent eyes scanned the assembled officers like a teacher appraising disobedient children. Admiral Kale, Sither began smoothly, I am instructed by the Chancellor to ensure Terran compliance with disarmament clauses. Certain fleet movements near the belt appear provocative. Kale clasped his hands behind his back. We are conducting drills. Standard orbital procedures. Indeed, Sither said, lips curling. But peace requires transparency. The Council cannot tolerate suspicion. Kale's voice sharpened. Peace built on submission isn't peace. It's captivity. The alien smiled. Strong words for a species still learning civility. That was enough. Kale gestured to the hollow console. The intercepted transmission flickered into existence, Council headers, signatures, and all. Lines of alien script scrolled above the envoy's head, translated in real time. Operation Cinder authorization, controlled release of Titan viral strain confirmed. Objective, compliance through population dependency. The hall went silent. Sither's composure cracked for a fraction of a second. Kale's voice was low, deliberate. You engineered our plague. You enslaved us under the guise of salvation. This is an unauthorized document. The envoy hissed. Fabricated. Enough lies. Kale stepped forward. Your Chancellor called us civilized. Tell him he was right about one thing, we learned. Sither's guards moved, but Kale's officers drew sidearms first. The envoy froze, fury flickering across his features. You'll regret this defiance, he said. Kale leaned close. No. You will. Sither left under armed escort, His diplomatic vessel ordered off station. The moment he vanished from radar, Kale transmitted the full contents of Operation Cinder across the Terran network. Within hours, the data reached every colony. Broadcasts erupted with outrage. Streets filled with protests. Old flags of independence reappeared on Mars and Luna. The Council's shining image fractured under the weight of its own deceit. By midnight, Kale faced the Terran assembly through a hololink. The chamber buzzed with chaos, politicians shouting over one another, demands for proof, for war, for restraint. Kale raised his hand. You all have the evidence. They weakened us on purpose. The Titan plague, the sanctions, the disarmament, they planned it all. The Council fears what we might become. Assemblywoman Rhea Vance spoke, trembling. If we defy them, they'll wipe us out. Kale's tone was steady, lethal. If we do nothing, they already have. Silence followed. No one argued. That night, the Assembly voted unanimously to grant emergency military command to Kale and the High Fleet Council. For the first time in centuries, Terran Command had full autonomy. Later, Kale stood again before the viewport. Below, Earth shimmered under storm clouds and city lights. Humanity's cradle, and its last shield. Aisha joined him, quiet. They'll come for you. Maybe the entire fleet. He didn't turn. Let them. We've been dying on our knees long enough. You realize what this means, she said softly. There's no going back. Kale's eyes stayed fixed on the stars. Good. History's written by those who refuse to surrender. He opened his private console, voice calm and cold. To all Terran fleet captains, initiate Silent Dawn. Prepare for Exodus Protocol. The message pulsed across encrypted channels, reaching every warship still loyal to Earth. Lights blinked awake in dark hangars. Engines that hadn't burned in a century hummed to life. Aisha watched the data streams bloom on the holographic map, dozens of red indicators igniting across the system. You've just declared war on the galaxy. Kale's voice was a whisper of iron. No. I've declared humanity free. From the dark side of Earth, the first dormant defense satellites began to rotate, their optics aligning toward the void. The false stars of celebration were fading now, replaced by colder, sharper lights, the kind forged for war. As the horizon brightened with dawn, Kale remained unmoving, a lone figure against the glass. In that reflection, he saw what the Chancellor never would, a species too stubborn to die, too proud to kneel. The Council called it obedience. Humanity would call it what it truly was, the calm before reckoning. And as the first transmission of rebellion rippled through the void, Admiral Elias Kale finally allowed himself to breathe. The galaxy had mistaken silence for submission. Now it would learn the truth. They wanted us weak, he said quietly. They'll see what weakness creates. The stars seemed to listen. The Geneva Orbital Command Nexus hummed with activity, yet a heavy tension lingered in the recycled air. Hollow projections of star systems, fleet positions, and council vessels flickered across the room, bathing the officers in pale blue light. Admiral Elias Kale stood at the head of the central table, his hands resting on the edge, eyes scanning each face. This was no ordinary council, it was the birthplace of humanity's defiance. Admiral, said General Lien Kovacs, her voice firm. If we strike preemptively, the Council will respond with overwhelming force. Billions could die. Kale's gaze didn't waver. Then the alternative is certain annihilation. Do you suggest we kneel while the galaxy designs our extinction? A murmur ran through the assembled command. Some officers exchanged uneasy glances. Half of them had grown up under the illusion of peace. Now that illusion had fractured. Commander Aisha Tran stepped forward, her voice calm but carrying weight. Operation Exodus is our only chance to survive. But we must be precise. The Council has spies everywhere. One misstep and the galaxy will burn us before we can even fire. Kale nodded. Exactly. Silence and shadows. The Council thinks us predictable. We will prove them wrong. On the holographic table, Kale projected a fleet diagram of human and alien positions. Each Terran vessel was marked in green. Council dreadnoughts shimmered red, slowly advancing toward Sol. Our window is small. They will be in the belt within 6 standard days. After that, our fleets will be corralled, our colonies cut off. We strike now, or we lose every advantage. General Kovacs slammed her fist lightly on the table. You're asking for premeditated war. Are you prepared to answer for the genocide you're about to commit? Kale's expression hardened. I answer for survival. Humanity will not be enslaved. And if we are forced into blood, history will judge us not by mercy, but by will. A tense silence fell. Then the door hissed open. Security alerts flared. Sensors had detected encrypted transmissions leaving the command hub, unauthorized and rapid. Kale's brow furrowed. Show me, he demanded. The officer brought up the feed. Patterns of Council standard encryption scrolled across the monitors, too sophisticated for a Terran hand. It's internal, said the officer. Somebody's betraying us. Kale's eyes narrowed. He traced the source. The confirmation struck him like a blow. Admiral Darren Pike, once his closest ally, was transmitting fleet coordinates to the Council. Kale moved to intercept him, voice low. Secure him. No errors. Pike stepped into the room, hands raised. His expression was a mixture of fear and defiance. Elias, you don't understand. We can't win. The Council will annihilate us before we even raise a weapon. Kale's hand rested briefly on his sidearm, not to draw, but to remind Pike of consequence. You think survival lies in submission? You're a fool. I'm realistic. Pike snapped. You'll bring the galaxy down on every human world. Millions will die because you refuse to negotiate. Kale's voice was flat, steady, lethal. And if we do nothing, billions are already doomed. You made your choice when you betrayed your species. Pike hesitated, the last flicker of loyalty crossing his features. Kale gave the order. Tranquilizers fired, incapacitating him. The room exhaled collectively. Betrayal had been punished. The lesson was clear: humanity's shadow could not contain traitors. Once the threat was neutralized, Kale turned back to the table. Focus. We have no time for hesitation. Mobilize the colonies. Old orbital guns, mining ships retrofitted for combat, drones swarms. Every asset we have, ready for activation. Aisha spoke quietly. Do you realize the cost? Every colony, every ship, every life. If we're wrong, we'll be remembered as monsters. Kale's eyes softened just slightly. Then let history call us monsters. At least we will be the species that refuse to die. Across the outer colonies, secret communications ignited. Luna's defense platforms came online, previously decommissioned for treaty compliance. Mars' orbital cannons rotated into firing positions, their barrels gleaming under the artificial lights of industry. In the belt, miners-turned-engineers prepared swarm drones, adapting the AI network Erebus, once banned by the Council, to coordinate precision attacks. Phase 1 complete, a young officer reported. All fleets reporting readiness. Kale nodded, surveying the holographic display of human ships assembling in silence across the inner system. Good. Phase 2 will be surprise and devastation. I want no warning. Make the Council think we are retreating, then strike from the shadows. The holo projection shifted, showing alien fleet movement. Council vessels were closing in, scanning for signs of activity. Vorin Talzeth, confident as ever, had already declared Earth a rogue state. The red markers on the projection marched steadily toward human positions. Prepare countermeasures, Kale ordered. Electronic jamming, cloaking, decoy transmissions. Make them doubt what they see. Fear will become their weakness. Hours later, Kale sat alone in the strategy chamber, reviewing reports. Aisha entered, carrying a stack of communications from colony commanders. She set them down silently. They're ready, she said. Mars, Luna, the Belt colonies, they'll follow your orders without hesitation. Kale leaned back. It's not enough to be ready. We have to be ruthless in planning, careful in execution, and united in purpose. Humanity can only survive if we strike as one. Aisha hesitated. Are you certain this is the path? Once we fire, there's no turning back. No negotiation will undo this. Kale's gaze fixed on the distant stars beyond the viewport. I am certain of one thing: if we do not act now, humanity will vanish. If we act, we at least give ourselves a chance. And the galaxy will never forget who we are. The next day, Kale transmitted a global alert to all Terran command posts. The message was simple, direct, and coded. All units, activate Exodus Protocol. Maintain secrecy. Prepare for Phase 2. The Council approaches. Humanity must survive. Lights blinked awake across the system. Engines stirred. Weapons systems rotated into position. Drones hummed as they powered on, their adaptive AI ready to execute tactics unimagined by alien strategists. As the command deck emptied, Kale remained alone, staring at the holographic map of human fleets poised like predators in a web. Aisha's voice echoed softly behind him. They'll see what humanity can do. Kale's lips curved into the faintest smile. Not just see. They'll remember. Above them, the Council fleet drew nearer, unknowingly heading straight into the trap. Humanity waited in silence, hidden yet prepared, a species that had learned the cost of obedience and chosen defiance. The stars shimmered, indifferent yet watching. And in that vast darkness, Admiral Elias Kale whispered to himself, a vow to the human race. They thought they controlled us. Let them feel the shadow of what they created. The silence of space had never felt so heavy. Beyond Neptune, the red blips of the Galactic Council fleet advanced steadily, massive and methodical, unaware that humanity waited in patient, lethal shadows. From the bridge of the flagship Vanguard, Admiral Elias Kale watched the approaching lines of enemy dreadnoughts, their sensors scanning the void with arrogant precision. Admiral, reported Commander Aisha Tran, her voice clipped. They've closed the belt perimeter. Communications show no signs of awareness. They think we've retreated. Kale's lips tightened. Good. Let them believe we're weak. Underestimate us. That is all we need. Below, orbital cannons stirred, kinetic launchers shifted into alignment, and AI-controlled drone swarms hummed to life. The colonies were synchronized to the second, a hidden orchestra of death poised to strike. Humanity was ready, but the cost would be written in fire. Aisha hesitated beside him. You know, once we begin, there's no going back. Kale nodded. I know. And that is why we strike. The first act of the assault began with eerie precision. Human decoy transmissions lured the Council dreadnoughts closer, coaxing them toward the inner planets. Then, without warning, orbital weapons activated simultaneously. Plasma beams sliced through the silence, tearing hulls, ripping shields, and detonating containment cores. The Council ships shuddered as automated drones swarmed from unexpected angles. Their programming adapted instantly, countering maneuvers in ways their human analysts could not have predicted. Systems overloaded, communications jammed. Chaos spread across the alien lines like wildfire. Aisha's fingers flew over the console. Drones engaging target clusters, adaptive protocols online. We're overwhelming their formations. Kale's eyes narrowed. Focus on command ships first. Break their coordination. The rest will follow. The Council Admiral, Talzetha's second-in-command, attempted to redirect the fleet. Orders were delayed, confused by the AI's adaptive interference. Human ships that had seemed stationary emerged suddenly from asteroid fields, striking with precision. The battle became a dance of shadows, humans striking from unexpected angles, alien ships struggling to respond. Then the threat to the relay emerged. The Council had pinpointed the command uplink relay, the neural link that connected Earth's defense grid and the swarm AI. A concentrated assault threatened to sever humanity's control. Admiral, Aisha said, voice tight. The relay can't withstand that. We'll lose coordination if it's destroyed. Kale glanced at her, seeing both fear and resolve. I have only one option, he said. I'll do it, she said before he could stop her. If I stay, they can't break the network. It's the only way. No, Kale whispered, a rare crack in his composed facade. There has to be another way. There isn't, she replied. You need every system online. I'll hold it. Kale clenched his fists, fighting the weight of the decision. Aisha had been his anchor, his eyes in the darkness, and now she would pay the price. Very well, he said, voice breaking. Godspeed. She moved to the uplink, connecting herself directly to the grid. Moments later, the first strikes of plasma cascaded into alien hulls. Drones swarmed with surgical efficiency. The Council fleet began to break apart, dreadnoughts exploding in silent fury, shards of metal spinning like deadly meteors. Kale took a deep breath and gave the next order. Target Viral Prime. Full orbital bombardment. Disable their command infrastructure. Massive energy beams lanced toward the alien homeworld, striking control centers and fleet depots. The Council's arrogance faltered as their homeworld, once untouchable, burned under human fire. Red warning lights flashed across alien screens. Panic replaced discipline. On the Vanguard, Kale stared at the holographic map, noting the collapse of alien formations. They'll scatter, he muttered. Let them. We only need to prove our strength. Then came the final transmission from Chancellor Vorin Talzeth. His voice, cold and distant, carried over the calm frequency. You are fools, humans. You will ignite the stars themselves. Kale's response was measured, deliberate, cutting through the void. Then we'll light the galaxy with our fire. The Council fleet disintegrated under relentless assault. Some ships surrendered, others fled in fractured panic. Humanity's coordinated strike had shattered the perception of invincibility. The galaxy had underestimated the species it had tried to control. But victory came at a cost. The uplink room erupted in a surge of feedback as Aisha fought to maintain the neural link. Sparks flew, consoles melted, and alarms blared. Kale's hands hovered over the control panel, unable to help. Through the calm, her voice cracked but defiant. Tell them, humanity fights together. Then silence. Kale exhaled, sorrow threading his resolve. Her sacrifice would not be forgotten. The victory was theirs, but it was forged with human blood, courage, and unyielding determination. He surveyed the battlefield, calculating the aftermath. Colonies once vulnerable now had breathing space. Orbital defenses remained intact. The Council's credibility had been shattered. Humanity's legend was being written in real time. Kale ordered a system-wide broadcast, a message for all who survived and all who would hear the tale. To the species who called us fragile, run. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity survives. In the following hours, scattered Council remnants surrendered. The flagship of Talzeth's second-in-command drifted lifelessly in orbit, its crew incapacitated by the swarm drones. The human fleets regrouped, repairing damages, tending to the wounded, and preparing for the next inevitable strike. Weeks later, the war ended. Viral Prime lay in ruins, its surface scarred by human bombardment. Colonies once oppressed now thrived under the Terran Accord, a new unity forged from defiance. Humanity had survived, and the galaxy knew it. Kale stood before a memorial for Aisha on Mars, placing her insignia on the cold, black stone. You believed in us, he whispered. We will honor that every day. In the distance, colonies broadcast messages of solidarity and remembrance. Humanity had proven its capacity for both sacrifice and victory, its ingenuity and ferocity. Across the galaxy, whispers began, tales of the species that refused to kneel, the species that struck from shadows, the species that would not be controlled. Kale returned to the Vanguard's bridge. The stars stretched infinitely, indifferent yet witnesses to the rise of a species no longer timid. Humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars, not through diplomacy or subservience, but through ingenuity, strategy, and the unwillingness to be ruled. They deceived us with peace, Kale murmured, watching the void. We answered with war. And the galaxy will never forget the name of humanity. The lights of the surviving fleet blinked steadily, a constellation of human defiance against the cold, black backdrop of space. And in that silence, Admiral Elias Cale understood the truth he had long carried: freedom was never given. It was seized, forged through sacrifice, and written in the fire of those brave enough to refuse submission.